Welcome to the Shulamite Podcast, an extension of Shulamite Ministries and Shulamite.com, with weekly interviews and teaching with author and speaker Martha Kilpatrick and hosted by John Enslow. This weekly podcast is a way to stay connected to the ministry. So come experience anointed messages, not giving just another method, but a living impartation.
If we can have our determined purpose, don't you just have to choose? Don't you just have to make the choice?
It's a choice, and you commit to the choice. That's what determined means. Determined means I'm going to do this. It's more than choice, and it has to be more than choice. And really, if you have any incentive toward it at all, it's the Holy Spirit anyway, prompting you. So, and if you don't have it, you can ask the Spirit to. The invitation's open to every born-again believer, everybody.
So if it's his life to perform, but you're saying that there is more than just the choice.
Yeah, it's a commitment to the choice. It's a passion. It's a desire. It's a yearning, a longing. What you're describing, John, is that you're behind the shepherd, not in front of him. You're following the Lamb. And it is Jesus the Lamb that is manifesting in you. I know what I was trying to remember years ago. I said, in my enthusiasm, "Oh, Lord, I just want to know you." And he said, "Get out of my way, and you will know me through your own body." And I learned, someone said the other day something very, very grateful and very complimentary, and I said, "None of that was me. I'm not capable of it. It was not Martha." And she said, "I know. But it really, really wasn't. I'm not capable of looking like him at any point in time." But that's what you're letting the shepherd reveal who he is to you by letting him be in you. Did that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely to me, absolutely.
And I can see it on your countenance. You're behind him. You're watching for him and waiting for him. Actually, you're not focused on me that much. You're focused on what he sees about me. You're looking through his eyes. That's what it seems to me you're doing.
Well, okay, and here's the dichotomy. I am looking at you. I'm watching. Mm-hmm. But you're right. I'm not watching. John's not watching.
Humanly,
I'm not humanly watching, because I would see something and it'd say, "Oh, well, let's fix it." Mm-hmm. But you're right. I'm standing behind him, saying, "Where are we going?
Mm-hmm. Where are you going in my body?"
Absolutely.
It's obvious because you're not really. You're terribly involved, but you're really not involved. You're a watchman, and a watchman watches. But you're not entangled with it. It's amazing. Says I'm getting to know him by watching you. Watch me.
But in that, it's not like my heart isn't affected. It isn't that I remain cold or distant.
That's true.
You could take that into a super spiritual realm, and then you could say, "Oh, okay, well, I'm just going to." Blah, blah, blah. And no,
that's not it.
I am affected,
and you are suffering with me, with him.
Yes, but yes, that's exactly it.
I'm glad you put that because that's crucial. You are involved. You're not involved.
That's the dichotomy.
Right.
That you are completely involved, and you're not the life. Mm-hmm. My life is in the heavens, but I am affected. Mm-hmm. There's the paradox. You always say the paradox that two things held.
Truth is always two things
that appear to be opposites,
and even contradictory. How can it be you and not you? How can it be him and not you? It is. It's a mystery. It's how it works.
So that's how I would answer. Mm-hmm. She has to determine, to know, but she also has to get out of the way and let him live.
You have to participate in his sufferings in your own body. Oh, this is the revelation that I didn't tell on the tape of the month.
Well, hallelujah.
I've been pursuing. Oh, this is good.
Easter eggs.
Yeah. I've been pursuing the issue of knowing God. I've been going through the scriptures, been reading some things by Sparks that are fantastic, and just been brooding and praying over the knowledge of God. As I was waking up one morning last week, suddenly I understood the whole book of Job. I'd never understood it before. Now, I've written about it, so I had an inkling, but I really didn't comprehend the big story, and I saw the big story, John. It began with God saying to Satan, have you seen Job, my perfect man? Go get him and stop here. You can only do this much, which tells us that God uses Satan in his purposes. Mystery. I find it perfectly acceptable. So Satan goes and wipes out his family. Very drastic picture of loss. His friends come and they accuse him of things that he's not guilty of because God called him perfect. And they go on, lecture him endlessly. And there's some jewels in their lecture that I've picked up and that the Lord's given me. And the thing that I couldn't but admire about Job was he never would admit that his relationship with God was about that. It couldn't be about that because he knew he was faithful to God. He knew he was obedient. And though he sounded like a proud man, he was simply defending what he knew. He defended his relationship with God as valid, whole, and intact. And it was, despite, did he have 4 friends? Eliphaz and
the 3.
Gobbledygook. And they all spoke endless lectures of him that goes on for chapters. And then Job questions God, which we can do.
Gobbledygook. His friend Gobbledygook, he was the worst. Yeah, Gobbledygook was the worst.
So then he begins to talk to God and ask him, why? What have I done? And this is what you do when you lose. You say, what have I done? I don't know of anything I've done. And he talks to him, and then God answers. And God says, were you there when the deer gives birth? Or were you there when the earth was formed? And he gives Job his own lecture. But Job says, I tremble. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now I see you and I know you. The whole thing was to bring him to the knowledge of God, John. He was a man who pleased God. And in order to get him to need God, Job to need God, he had to reduce him. I don't understand that entirely, why that's necessary. I would think there'd be an easier way, but there never is. Job, the perfect man, had to be crushed and wounded by God so that he could see him. We can't really see him. Do you know, I really believe we're all supposed to see him, perhaps not in visual form in this life, but we have the privilege. It's ours to see him. I can say I've seen him as who he is, not remotely enough. A speck of a quarter of a piece of sand is all I know. But we're supposed to see him. And God wanted Job to know him as he was. And so he had him questioned about the identity of God and his relationship. He put him through that grilling, that tedious grilling. Jesus. But it was for the glory of God before those friends. Because in the end, he said, you go and get some cows and sacrifice them before me with your friend.
Gobbledygook.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he will pray for you and you'll be healed. He vindicated Job by putting him in position over his friends and by requiring that they need him to get to God. That was the end of it. Job came to know God. That was God's intention of all the suffering. It's his intention for every suffering, just like you're saying, that we are supposed to know him through suffering. And we just demonstrated it in your life and my life, where you, in serving my knee and my infirmity and my time of wilderness, where I can't cook. I really can't do much. And so it's all being done for me by you and others. And we just demonstrated that it's all to know God. And hopefully, when we're all like that. If you were of a lowly mind, when you hear Billy Graham has Parkinson's, you would say as Job's friends, well, there must be something wrong with him, or God would never do that to Billy Graham. Well, God did. And Billy Graham is, I'm sure, a favorite of God, if there is favorites. And Billy Graham understood perfectly why. So he would know God as his everything.
And it was proved by how he responded to it. It wasn't
right,
with sour grapes. It wasn't
with bitterness or
resistance. No.
It was acceptance.
He knew.
Because his determined purpose was to know God, no matter what the cost. That proved to be his determined purpose, didn't it?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I'll never stop talking about him.
It's amazing because of what it stated. There's a deep message, deeper than the salvation messages he gave at the Crusades. Mm-hmm. There's a deep message behind that. Mm-hmm. There's a richness behind a man that is so surrendered to God and his sovereignty and his sovereign hand and his will and his ways. The ways mm-hmm. of God are scary. Mm-hmm. And he was surrendered to it because he
knew God.
That is probably his deepest message.
Oh, wow. Yes, it reveals the man.
It does reveal the man.
I've been given 2 3-inch thick books about Billy Graham. One of them is biography, and the other one is about the pure prophet. And I can't wait to get in it, to get to know him. And it's probably going to be very simple. His life was reduced to great simplicity, even though it was a complex life. I believe his way of functioning is very simple. It's very easy when you eliminate all the religious stuff and the law of I shoulds and I can't and I woulds and I shall. All the complexities we lay on it by our self-focus. But when it's just Jesus, it's very simple.
We hope you've enjoyed the Shulamite podcast. For all the latest from Shulamite Ministries, please visit us at Shulamite.com, where you'll find Martha's daily devotions, posts from GetAlongWithGod.com, and the online library of all of Martha's writings. At Shulamite.com, downloading the free Shulamite app is easy, and LivingChristianBooks.com is only a click away. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover a God worth knowing.